a podcast that empowers you to unleash your inner goddess and take the leap of faith to live your best life. Your guide, Karen Pulver, joins her fellow goddesses in soulful conversations about gratitude, personal growth, authentic living, and a bevy of topics affecting women today. Let's start the show with your host, Karen Pulver.
Welcome, everyone. It's Wednesday. It's Grateful Goddesses, and I am thrilled that you are here. If you are watching on the live stream and you would like to become part of the live studio audience, there's still time. Just go to pulver.com, Pulver, and look under GGTV, and you can join us there. And then you can ask questions and interact with us. So tonight is a very personal topic for me. And so I wanted to share something with you to start out the night. 11 years ago, found out some information. And when I got home, I didn't know what to do. So I wrote. So I do want to read a little bit of a story that I wrote that continued on and on and on. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm hoping to perhaps put this in a book one day. But I wanted to read so that you can understand this day. So it was April 1st. Okay. I started the day by stepping in dog poop. I was rushing from my car to get to my writing class that I was late for. I tried to scrape the ooze off so I wouldn't smell in the meeting. I did my best and hurried on in. Today was my first day of this class. My heart was beating. I arrived and looked around at all the other women, and I was very excited to be there. And it was a fantastic class. Getting back into the car after class, I glanced at my face in the mirror, and I just started to look at myself getting older. I saw a few wrinkles, I saw some gray roots, and I decided to book an appointment to get my roots colored. As I sat in the hairdresser's chair that afternoon, I felt the cool color being painted on my hair. I started to feel a sense of calm. I felt an inner smile appear in my brain, thanking me for taking care of myself today. I closed my eyes and thought back to the writing class and how alive I felt in that class and how my life was taking this new turn as my children were getting older. And then my cell phone rang. Blocked caller showed on my ID. Who is this? The hair dye is in my hair and it's working its magic. Hello? This is Dr. E, she says. Oh, I'm so glad you called. It's so nice of you to check on me. I'm feeling fine. I had had a tumor removed from my back the previous week, just as a sidebar, not knowing what it was. I was told by 3 different doctors that it was nothing. I felt like it was something, and I persisted because in the month that I had it, or maybe 6 weeks that I first noticed it, it had changed in color and it had grown bigger. And something in my gut said, just check it out and get this damn thing out of my back. So I went and had it removed. So now this is the doctor who's calling me. My husband had taken out my stitches from the surgery because he's a doctor himself. So now she's calling me. I'm feeling fine, I say. The stitches are out. And my husband took them out. She says, are you sitting down? You are not driving, are you? No, yes. Why? I am still. My heart is still. All is still. And everything is slow. Well, I just have to say it, she says. The lump we removed last week from your back came back and it's lymphoma. What? I can't breathe. I don't know what she's saying. I'm thinking this is a joke. It's April 1st, right? Who is playing this stupid, ridiculous joke on me? What do you mean? I say, I don't understand. Do you mean cancer? She said, we need to send you right away to the specialist to see if the cancer has spread or if it is in any other place in your body. And we need to do this right away. The only reason why I did not have you come in is because I'm headed out of town tomorrow, she says, as if she's telling me her schedule. I can't speak. I can't get out any words, and I feel the hair dye dripping down my neck. I look up at my hairstylist, and she asks if I'm okay. I nod, and I say to the doctor, I'm getting my hair colored right now. my gosh. So, okay, I walk back, I get rinsed off, I call my husband, etc. Okay, my husband says he's going to call the doctor, get back to me. I leave to go pick up my kids. I realize that I almost forgot to get them. I'm in the school parking lot with the cool spring air coming through the windows, and I realize that that lingering smell in the car is my dog poop that I stepped in that morning. I thought I had scraped it off, and I thought I was rid of it. Oh my God, how I wished it was the morning again, and all I had to deal with was that smell. I chuckled to myself at how in the morning, my biggest obstacle was finding myself again in this new writing class. My new self and my new normal was really now about to begin. Now I was in a lot of crap, no pun intended. I had a big journey ahead, and even though I smelled like dog poop, I needed to make a decision how smelly I was going to allow it to be. So April 1st just came, and I want to light a candle for myself and for others as well who are celebrating. Because this past April 1st, okay, it's not working, but let's imagine, or maybe it will work. Okay, and I don't have time to light them all, but this last April 1st was my 11th year. 11 years ago, I wrote that. So I'm celebrating, yay, 11 years cancer-free. And how I felt back then, I could not have imagined that journey that I went through, what it did to me physically, emotionally, mentally, and how it actually, I hate to say this, but it enhanced my life. Okay, so we're going to talk to our guests tonight about their journeys. We have two guests here tonight. We have Natalie Witkin and Howard Brown. So welcome, Natalie and Howard, to Grateful Goddesses. I'm really glad that you're here, and thank you for showing up because we are celebrating. So Natalie, can you start by telling us what year of cancer-free you are in? As I blow out my candle.
Congratulations on that. In February, I celebrated 15 years. I called it my cancerversary. And I can't actually believe that it's been that long. And it feels like it was a long time ago, but then sometimes it feels like it was kind of a second ago. Like there's so many like vivid memories from it.
And Howard, how about you?
So first of all, congratulations, both of you, 11 and 15 years. And Karen, thank you for that story. It was so rich. It's what a recollection. It is the start of a book or a feature article. So thank you for sharing that with everyone. I'm more complicated than both of you, unfortunately. And I just want to point out that all cancer diagnoses suck, S-U-X. I was diagnosed in 1989 with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I got through a bone marrow transplant through my twin sister, got to remission or no evidence of disease. Unfortunately, at age 50, I had a colonoscopy, and this is in 2016. And I currently right now am 2 3/4 years, no evidence of disease with scans and blood work all next week. So I'm still in surveillance. So I'm a little more raw, a little more current than both of you, but I am blazing the trail right behind you and hope to catch you.
What you said is so true. Every cancer sucks. So one of the things I was told by some people, many people actually, was I have B-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I was told, that's the best cancer to have. You're so lucky. And I remember thinking like, okay, do you want it? Like, I don't want it. Like, what? Like, what kind of comment is that? So we're going to talk tonight about some of the things that everyone is different. Every cancer, like it might be similar cancers that people have, but everyone is different in how they deal with it and how they respond. But I think tonight, and I'm hoping that we can share our stories. So if you know someone that has cancer, or you yourself are suffering, or you're taking care of someone who is, like, you'll better understand, and you'll be able to go forth and forward with this new knowledge. Okay, so Natalie, you're 15 years cancer-free. Can you talk a little bit about how you detected your cancer? Because for me, like I said, it was just this Well, maybe I didn't say. I had a bump on my back.
Mhm.
It's bugging me. And my husband noticed it because I'm washing my face and wearing my bra, I'm like this. And he's like, what is that? And it kept changing. And I'd mentioned, for those of you who may have come on late, I went to see 3 doctors and they told me it was nothing. But in my gut, I felt it was something. And I finally had it removed, upon which later found out that it was cancerous and needed radiation. So, Natalie, can you share about your diagnosis and the reaction you had?
Yeah. So my kind of diagnosis starts before my diagnosis. Or I'd say my cancer story starts a bit earlier. When I was 30, I found out that I had the BRCA1 gene mutation. And that's for me where it all began. I went with my sister. I have a sister and a brother. And we both got tested. And then I went back to find out, we went back separately to find out our results. And I went with my husband at the time, and I found out that I had tested positive. And that was really, I think that was actually harder than finding out that I had cancer, because that was like a real loss of innocence. And now I was living with risk and making decisions about having kids and sort of going and risk reduction that I had never thought about. And there's no answer. Like when you have cancer, they kind of say, okay, we suggest, surgery, chemo, radiation, like whatever it is. But when you have a risk, they say, well, these are some of the things that you could do. And then it's kind of over to you. And at that time, not a lot was known about it. It was pretty new. It was like pre-Angelina Jolie. So I did go into a high-risk screening program. I started getting mammograms and MRIs and was being monitored every year. I had 2 daughters. I decided to just go for it. And then when I was 38, my kids were 2 and 4. I was scheduled for my annual MRI. I pushed it out by a week because I was away. I came back. I was in bed at 2 a.m. I had not slept all night because we'd been traveling and our flight had got delayed. My 2-year-old daughter was between my husband and I. She was sick. She had a fever. I was up in the middle of the night, like helping her. I was lying on my pillow at like 2 a.m. with my arm like this. I scratched my armpit. I felt something. I scratched, and then like the itch didn't go away. So I like dug in a little deeper, and that's when I felt it. And there's not a lot you can do at 2 a.m. when you got a sick kid in your bed. So, you feel the other side, hopefully you're going to feel the same thing. And it's like some bone or something. No. And I just knew in my heart at that point what it was. It is exactly what they say. Like it felt like a frozen pea, or like about that size, hard. And I called the doctor in the morning. I was already in a program, so that made it go faster. I actually had my MRI scheduled for 2 days later. So I had it. And so I was diagnosed with early stage 1 breast cancer, triple negative, which is common with BRCA, which means you have kind of less lines of treatment. And it was aggressive, but it was caught early. And then, did you want me to say what I went through, like the treatment?
No, I want to know. Not yet. I want to know how you felt when you were told.
It's funny when I went, I guess I was prepared because I had lived with this risk for 7 years. And when you have the gene mutation, you have an up to 85% chance of getting breast cancer. Right. So in some ways, like that journey sort of prepared me. And I was actually scheduled to have a hysterectomy to remove my ovaries. And I found the lump like 2 weeks before that surgery was scheduled. Okay. So in a way, so when I did go, so when I felt it, I kind of knew in my mind I had it. And when I went for a biopsy, and then I was, went back, a few days later to the doctor's office, and she told me that I had cancer. I didn't cry. And she was like kind of surprised. And I think I just knew at that point.
You were like prepared almost.
I knew, and I was sort of expecting the worst. And then I remember we went out so we left the hospital, we went and ate, of course, hamburger with, bacon and, mac and cheese. And we had a bottle of wine. And then we went to visit a friend who just had a baby in the hospital, because he said, let's do something positive. Like, I just, like kind of get out of this headspace. But I think for me, and everybody's journey is different, and I was sort of prepped for it in that way. There were some other bumps along the way that were harder, like having to have a mastectomy and lose my breasts and losing my hair. Because there was the anticipation of that, and I can talk more about that after. Were actually like harder markers on the journey.
Okay.
For me.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Everyone reacts differently. I know I was shocked. I was just like, because not expecting it. You kind of expected it, but yet you still were calm. Mark, how about you? I mean, it's happened twice to you. So can you tell us about your diagnoses and how you react?
So I talk in analog and digital. So at age 23, I had a little bump that got bigger and purple to the size of a golf ball on my left cheekbone. I had just taken a huge promotion and moved out to Dayton, Ohio. And I had my mom come out to kind of set me up in a condo. And I was working and traveling. And she goes, "What's that on your cheek?" And I was like, "Nothing. It's a cyst. I got hit playing basketball. I was in the gym. I was making all these excuses up. It didn't hurt." I just happened to be flying back to Boston to get to do a speech at the American Bankers Association. And my dad tricked me. Instead of going to play tennis, he took me to the hospital, and they said, "Oh, it's a cyst. Don't worry, take some erythromycin." Well, I felt awful. And I went back, and they ended up taking a biopsy of this purple golf ball. Now, it took about, I think, close to 3 to 4 weeks for them to find out what's going on. My parents are like freaking out. I'm traveling the world doing my thing, but this thing is getting bigger, and I wear glasses. So my mom gave me some makeup to put on it. And long story short, I come back into Boston, and appointment is made at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. I still didn't know what I had. And I was told I had stage 4E accelerated T-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I will tell you that once the senior doctor who invented chemotherapy for lymphomas, Dr. George Canales, talked, after his first sentence, I didn't hear a word he said. I looked over in the corner, and it's common, to this young Harvard fellow named Eric Rubin. I'm friendly with him today. I was like, "What's he saying? What's going on here? I'm 23 and a half years old. I'm in great shape. I feel fine." And I had no idea what I was in for. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. Roll the clock forward as I get through it. Not burying the lead. I had a bone marrow transplant from my twin sister that saved my life, because I failed every other chemo and lots of side effects. I went on back with my life. I put Humpty Dumpty back together again. I moved to California, 132 pounds and bald, and started to piece my life back together again. And I went to work. I started playing basketball, my happy place. I met my wife through the Jewish Community Federation there. And I was off and running, putting cancer in the rear view. And then you roll the clock 26 years later, and I'm at my intern's office here in Michigan, and he says, "It's time for your colonoscopy." Well, I scheduled it. I had the flu, so I rescheduled it. June 4th, 2016, go in for my colonoscopy, thinking everything's great. Again, great shape, everything good. My wife's holding my hand, and I wake up, and I happen to know the gastroenterologist. And I said, "Hey, Doc, everything's good, right?" And he's like, "No." He goes, "I found something in your cecum, which is the connective between your large and small intestine." He goes, "I marked it. I took a piece of it." And he goes, "When I find something, it's usually bad news." I said, "What are you saying?" And he's like, "It's probably cancer." And it turned out to be stage 3C colon cancer. And 2 weeks or 10 days later, I was actually at 13 and a half inches of my colon removed. And I'll save what's going on there. But the big summary is that I was a deer in the headlights the first time. I was a young kid, in denial, didn't believe it. Second time around, I'm married, I'm a dad, and I kind of didn't, I was caught off by surprise for sure, but I kind of knew as a veteran, I kind of knew what the battle in front of me was.
Were you on watch and wait? So like I'm on watch and wait now, which means that it can come back at any time. So, it starts off watch and wait, 1 month after you go for blood work and scans, and then 3 months, and then 6 months, and then a year. So now it's a year. So it's every April 1st, although I missed this last one, but I will go. Because, after a while, you're like, oh, I forgot. It's like forgetting your gynecological exam. I'm like, oh, I forgot. So that's a good thing. But were you on watch and wait this whole time or not?
So this is my second time through. I am on quarterly surveillance. Next week, I have CT scans and blood work, and I do that quarterly. And I'm going to this will be 2 years and 2 3/4 years, 3 years in September. I'll get to no evidence of disease. You got to keep stacking those clean scans and clean blood work on. I still have a chemo port. So it's still fairly raw, but I very lucky, 4% chance of living 12 to 18 months when I turn metastatic stage 4. And there's many people that are either on chemo for life, desperate for life extension, or dead. In the stage 4 world, we live with a lot of death. And unfortunately, that's the case. So I just sum it up and say, I am grateful, I am blessed, and I am lucky.
When I met you and we reached out to each other, we just had this instant like cancer club connection, which is not the kind of club you want to be in, but I felt the same way with Natalie. It's really important, if you're listening out there, to connect with people who have had cancer, because they know exactly what you're going through. That's what I felt. I'm not sure about you guys. Let's talk a real, short little bit about treatment, but more about how did it affect you? Because so for me, for example, I love to work out. I love to be active. And so my first day of radiation, I live in Chicago. I live about 10-minute drive from downtown. And I was like, I am going to ride my bike downtown for my first radiation. And I'm like, what? I'm really going to do this? Okay. So I get there and the guy sees my bike helmet. I'm lying down for the radiation on my back. And he's like, you're not going to be riding your bike in the next few, you're going to want to set up people to drive you because you're going to be tired. I'm like, no, I'm not. So the next day I rode my bike. The third day I rode my bike. The fourth day I'm like, no way. I cannot get out of bed because I got so tired. So it really affected me mentally because I was like, I cannot control my body. I cannot control what's going on. And I was very, very sad and depressed. And I don't want to bring people down because I did get out of it. I do want you to know I did get out of that. Because once I finished, but I realized in that moment, I had to surrender. I had to just go through this treatment. I couldn't do all the things that I wanted to, like the workouts and this and that, but I could meditate. I could do slow yoga. I could write. I could read. I tried to look at what I could do. And if you're suffering, if you're going through treatment right now, for me, that's what helped me, is looking at what you could do instead of dwelling on what I couldn't do. Natalie, how about you?
For me, one of the hardest parts of treatment, I had a lot of surgery. So because I had the gene mutation, I wanted to be really aggressive and I had young kids. So I had a lumpectomy, then I had chemo, then I had a mastectomy with reconstruction, which was 2 surgeries. And then I had my ovaries, fallopian tubes, uterus and cervix removed. And so it was a lot of surgery and a lot of loss. And that was, I think, the hardest part for me. Also, certainly having a 2 and 4-year-old. So trying to have the energy for them. So 2 things I'll say is, in terms of having young kids and just preserving my energy, I decided not to work during that time. Luckily, I had been working full time, so I could go on disability, because I thought I want my energy needs to be either for myself, for my cancer treatment, or for my kids. And that's like, those are my two priorities, getting healthy and my kids. And that's what I would do. And I used to call it my one a day. So I would do I would plan, if I even could, one thing a day, which might be, somebody came by, or like, I walked to the store, or, I did something, but I kept it to like one thing a day to kind of preserve my energy. And then in terms of the loss, that was really hard because, especially with my having the mastectomy and the reconstruction, also losing my hair. Like I had, nice hair. I was kind of known for my hair. And so that was like a real identity loss. But especially with the breasts, I'll tell you one story. I lost so I knew that I was going to have a mastectomy. I made that decision. I stood behind my decision 100%, but nobody wants to have a part of their body amputated. It's literally what it is. And to have to like know that you're going into it, was really hard. And I started crying all the time, and I was crying in my car when I was alone, and like more so than when I got diagnosed with cancer. So my sister said, let's have a little get together with your close friends and kind of mark this occasion, because I realized this is like a turning point. My body will never be the same after this. And I was kind of trying to come to terms with this. And we mark so many occasions in our lives, birthdays and anniversaries, and big ones and small ones. And I was like, my body will never be the same. This is, when she said it, I was like, yeah, that kind of sounds right. So I got about, 10 of my closest friends and my family together. It was just girls. We had a tattoo artist come, and she did tattoos. I was having my surgery in a few days, so I had a beautiful bird right over my breast, and it really helped mark this loss and this occasion, and it gave me the support of my friends, and it really just kind of made it okay, and it really helped in dealing with it. And I started to see that the loss didn't necessarily have to be a loss. It could just be a change, and life could be different, and I could look different, and I could have a different looking body or feeling body. And it didn't have to be good or bad. It could just be different, and that would be okay.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you, that part of the marking. I think that's a beautiful thing to do. It's so beautiful, and so great of your sister to think of that.
Yeah.
Okay, Howard, I know you went through a lot. You both did. I feel like my radiation was like a walk in the park. But again, you're shaking your head, but
everyone goes through there's no grades. You don't get an A+ for more chemo or more surgery.
Right.
Absolutely not, Karen. But I will tell you this, that since I was 23 and a half years old, I losing my hair as a guy, put on a baseball cap, didn't matter. But they hit me with the kitchen sink because I was 23, and it was a very aggressive cancer. And so they were hitting me. So I handled the first couple of chemos, and then it just was rock 'em, sock 'em. They were hitting me hard. So I ended up, I as I said, I was kind of deer in the headlights, in denial. Maybe, I don't know, into probably 3 or 4 treatments. I have no idea if it's working or not. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I called my buddy Dave Herman in Florida at the time at 2 a.m. Woke his butt up, and I go, Dave, I'm gonna effing die. They told me to get my affairs in order. I'm gonna die. My life's. They can't help me. And I let it out. I came out of that denial. And unfortunately, I didn't get any really good news. I kept failing chemotherapies for lymphoma. And the only good news I got finally was that my twin sister was 100% exact HLA match. And that still was a 25% chance that she could save me. When you introduce someone else's, bone marrow into, your own body, it could kill you instantly. It can give you a lot of side effects, or it can work. And again, my chance of, I'm on the 25%. I hit the lottery ticket. My twin sister saved my life.
Wow. So, that this Sunday marked, Cancer Survivors Day. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk about this today, because now we're going to shift gears a little bit to surviving. I mean, we're all survivors. We got through this. It was tough. It was hard. But I want to share with people who are dealing with this right now what helped us. So one of the organizations that I love and who I interviewed here on Grateful Goddesses, you can check his episode out, is Johnny Immerman from Immerman Angels. I don't even remember who it was. They emailed me at the time and said, you need to contact Immerman Angels. So Immerman Angels, if you don't know, is they pair you up. It's almost like a dating app. They ask you everything about your cancer and everything about who you are. And then they match you with someone very similar. And I was matched with someone who helped me. I talked to her about, can I work out again? Am I going to be tired like this forever? What do I do about these friends that are avoiding me? What do I do about these friends who I never like? Who are they? And now they're bringing me meals. Like, I've never said boo to them. Very nice of them, but like, why are they in my life all of a sudden? All that stuff. So that was amazing. And then I, in turn, after 2 or 3 years of being cancer-free, I was an angel for an individual who, she's not here tonight. She was going to come, but she wasn't able to, but I was an angel for her, and we're still friends. I just went to her 50th birthday, and she's 8 years cancer-free, same non-Hodgkin's lymphoma as me. So that was one organization that I loved. And I also interviewed Jenna Ben Schercher from Twist Out Cancer. And I'll read you a little bit later of something that she shared from an individual. What their organization does, if you don't know, is she herself had cancer, and they pair you up. They pair a cancer patient up with an artist. So just like journaling, sometimes you need to get it out, but how are you going to get it out? No one maybe is going to listen, or you don't know what to write. This artist will paint a picture of what you express to them, and then they sell the pieces, and it raises money for cancer. So it's quite amazing. That support, along with my friends and family, really did help me. Natalie, how about you? It sounds like you had a big support group.
I had, the support of friends and family, but that's different from having the support of somebody who's been through it. And I was young, so I didn't really know anybody. I was 38 and I had young kids, and, I'd go to the cancer center, or I tried going to like a support group at like the local kind of cancer organization. And the only person I could relate to was the grandmother who had her grandchildren living at home, like living with her. So, she had like young kids at home. So I did feel really isolated that way. And I did find a support group through an organization called Rethink Breast Cancer that was for young women with breast cancer. And they had a support group for young moms. And it was maybe a 10-week thing. And it was invaluable to meet other women who were going through this, just to kind of share our stories. And I don't know, I think people probably think that a support group is like women all sort of crying together or something, but it's actually the opposite. It's sort of about empowerment and laughing about the things that are happening to us and nobody else would really understand or even find funny because they're so crazy. And so towards the end of my treatment, I was asked to be on a panel about BRCA. And there was a geneticist and a doctor. And so I spoke on this panel and I just told my story. And then at the end of the evening, you could come up and ask questions. And there was like a lineup of people in front of me. And I was like, well, why are they in front of, there's doctors here. Why would they want to talk to me? And they wanted to know the real story, how was I dealing with menopause and hot flashes and, things like that, the everyday kind of coping. And that twigged me to realize that when you have the BRCA gene and you're at risk, but possibly before you have cancer, it's very hard to find other people because you're not sick, so you're not in the cancer center, and it's not something you necessarily talk about because you just have this risk. You don't actually have, a disease yet. And so I started a support group for women with BRCA, and that led to starting a national program and hooking up with an organization. And I ended up with the Canadian Cancer Society. I worked there for about 5 years and spent 11 years doing not-for-profit breast cancer support work. And now I'm getting my coaching certification so I can coach women with cancer and help them kind of on this journey, getting from, the resources, but also from where they were to that new normal. You mentioned the new normal.
Yeah.
And I work with an organization called Breast Buds. That's just a platform that's being launched that also matches people in a online safe environment. So I've really spent like the last 15 years of my life trying to help other people because I got so much out of it myself, and I wanted to like give back.
I can't wait to see what happens next with you. So we met in our coaching class at Adler, and we connected, and I guess we were coaching each other, and cancer came up as it does when you're vulnerable and you're talking about your life, and we connected. And I love what you're doing. You're taking what you've been through and what you've learned, and you're helping others. So if you know anyone that's struggling through breast cancer and you would like to have a coach to talk to, Natalie, maybe put your connection in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've been coached by Natalie. We've done peer coaching, and she is absolutely incredible. She's a great listener. She just offers you so many possibilities of moving forward with any type of, if you're feeling any sadness at all or feeling stuck. Okay, Howard, you're up. I want to talk about your support and what you've done now moving forward.
So first of all, I listen, people with COVID are experiencing a lot of the same things that people with cancer do. The emotional, the physical, the financial, the relationships that you have to deal with. You shouldn't do it alone. And when I went through this in 1989 and 1990, there was no internet. There were no cell phones. There were no computers. There were still encyclopedias. If I'm old enough to know what an encyclopedia and a typewriter is. So it ends up that you're looking to the left and the right in the waiting room. So we didn't have anybody there. The information was disseminated over a busy signal because you had a landline. Roll the clock forward to colorectal cancer. There is so much great support out there. And I've gotten a lot of it. So there's a men's only group called Man Up to Cancer. Colon Town is amazing for all. They have 120 different private groups, Colorectal Cancer Alliance. There's not as many as like in breast cancer and others, but you can now find these groups that support you. But I also want to point out that it can be isolating. So I am very fortunate that my mom and dad took me back in as a 23-year-old and became my superhero care partners. At age 50, my wife stepped her game up. And she had to actually take over, basically doing a lot of stuff when I was rolling, failing awful on steroids, after surgeries, after chemo, after failed clinical trials. You got to step up your game. And I'm grateful for her for doing that. So if you don't have a care partner, you can get a navigator or social worker or coach. But I highly say that this is a team sport of fighting through this and battling through this tremendously is how you have to do it. And that support is there. So now what I do, I actually am an Emmerman Angel mentor to 2 men that have colorectal cancer, but there were people that took me under their wing, and I call it cancer whispering. And I have people that were 5 steps ahead of me and showed me the way. And now I'm coaching or counseling about 12 people right now that are 5 steps to 10 steps behind me. And it's about paying it forward and shared experience, because we're walking in the same shoes. And although my wife didn't have cancer, she felt it, but she didn't have cancer. So she needed support as a caregiver because there's so much weight put on her, and my mom too. But back then it was my mom and dad just toughed it out, just climbing that mountain every single day. Go get that support. Don't do it alone. And I feel it's an obligation. Almost, Natalie, what you're doing is amazing. You want to put it in the rearview mirror, but it's part of you. And if I can help someone, so if this show can stop and get someone to get their mammogram, go get tested, go get their colonoscopy, or go get checked. If we
and
help one
also,
person,
like, I remember I had 3 doctors tell me, oh, it's nothing. One doctor said, well, do you want the bump removed so that you look better in a bikini? And I was like, what? No, I want it taken out because I don't know what it is. And he was like, well, the scar is going to be worse if you take it out, I'm like, I don't care.
right.
I know, it's like, you just got to go with your gut with these feelings, right?
But if we can help someone right now, go get screened early. It helps a lot. I know with colorectal cancer, you get screened early. It's a curable disease. You clip those polyps and you go back to living your life every day and don't have to go through. I don't want anyone to have to go through the amount of chemo, surgeries, side effects, that I have to go through. It's been a complete horror story these last 5 years, but I'm coming out of it. And that's the point of it, right? That's the point of it. You got to come out of it. And that's with a lot of help and assistance, I'm getting it back.
Amazing. I want to just remember those of you who are joining us live, if you have any questions for Natalie, Howard, or myself, or just comments, please type them in the chat because that's what we're here for. In our last little bit of the show, I wanted to talk a little bit about silver linings. So did you guys feel like, I know you mentioned like you're giving back, but was there something that you learned through the whole experience or you're continuing to learn that you'd like to share with people? Natalie?
There's so many. There's so many things.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm trying to think, like, kind of, I've touched on it a little bit.
You did.
I guess 2 things. One, I shared my story. Like, I decided just to be very open about it, even though it was like very personal. I just kind of went right out there with it. And that was, being vulnerable. But the love and the support that I got back from like family and friends in spades just was worth it. And I don't know if I could have done it without it, and like people just come out of the woodwork, and it's not always the people you expect who are really there for you. But people do want to help, and seeing like the lengths that people would go to bring meals and everything, just like, it touched me so very deeply. Like, I was like, oh my God, I am loved in a way that I never knew. I was always like this, like, independent, go strong kind of person out there on my own. And cancer kind of forces you, it makes you slow down. It makes everything really hard, and you have to ask for help in a way. And I realized that's okay. And, that it can be actually like, you can get a lot back. So that was one kind of silver lining, that I really felt supported in a way that I never even kind of knew was possible or thought I needed. And the other was, I found another, like, I found a strength in myself. I found, maybe my voice. I decided to kind of align with what felt right. I worked in marketing. I was the director of marketing for Convention Center. It was a good job. I had done it for 10 years. But it wasn't kind of rewarding. And I always felt like something was missing. And I wondered before I had cancer, like, was it spirituality? Is that something I should raise? Like, what would bring that? And then once I got cancer, they wanted me to come back after all my treatment. And I thought, they want the person who left to come back. and I'm not that person anymore. And I don't want to have to kind of pretend to be that person. So I didn't go back, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I took kind of a leap of faith, and I ended up kind of in the not-for-profit world, helping. And, it's a very uncertain place to be when you finish your cancer treatment. And it's really hard sometimes to kind of like, I knew where I came from, but I didn't yet know where I was going, and living in that. And a lot of times that really hits you at the end of your treatment, when the busyness of, appointments and everything kind of, and people bringing food and everything stops. Yes. And then you're like, oh my God, what just happened? What did I just go through? Right? Like, you have a moment to think about it. Yeah. And so kind of traversing that and figuring out, what I wanted, using that time to decide, what felt right for me. And then when I started in not-for-profit, I never once have I felt that lack, that something's missing from my life. Yes. So I feel like I kind of, found myself a little bit more and was able to closer align with what had meaning for me. And that's invaluable. And, Karen, you said at the beginning, it was really hard, and it was tremendously hard, but in some ways, like it, I forget the word you used, but you said, it also kind of brought you opportunity.
Well, it was a new normal that I had to decide how I wanted it to be. Like, so it's a new normal, but how do you want that to be? Like, how are you going to make, what choice are you going to make? Right?
Yeah.
And that crucial moment for me was difficult, but you want to fight, you want to keep going, you want to show others, you want to help others, which sounds like what you did. Howard.
Yeah, that was a difficult part for me too. Like, what do you want to be? But you're given this opportunity, and you can make what you want with it.
Thank you for sharing. Howard, let's move on to you.
So the part of putting Humpty Dumpty back together again yes. is very different. There's not exactly a blueprint, but you have to figure it out. And I, like you, Natalie, didn't want to go back to corporate world of building startups again. I thought there was a higher purpose or calling. I want to say that in living in the stage 4 world with a lot of death, one of the silver linings, I've met some of the most amazing people that I never would have met in my entire life, and going through treatment and being part of these support groups, most of them by Zoom, right? Because of COVID, but also because of geography. But I got to see my daughter graduate high school. I'm going to see her graduate college this December early, and I'm going to walk her down the aisle. So, those are the things that weren't guaranteed, right? And now I get to fulfill those. And then, so something I never thought I was going to do, not even a bucket list, is I'm going to be a published author, and motivational paid speaker. And that's how I'm turning the corner there and putting Humpty Dumpty back on the wall. And you get to realize something. Thank you, Rochelle. I appreciate that. And Renata, for your comments as well. It's unbelievable. So you got to just seize that day, and that's what I'm trying to do. And again, not every day is easy, but we're getting there.
Tell us about the week of kindness and gratitude and your book.
Yes, I will. Thank you. So I'm speaking one of the keynotes. There's probably 100 speakers at this. It's a whole week, and it's all about the stuff where I want to hang out. I want to hang out in positivity. I don't want to hang out in school shootings and the war in Ukraine and some type of defamation trial with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. That's noise. That's noise. I want to hang out where people are trying to make this world a better place, and you can learn values and improvement. And this is what I was invited to speak. And I'm excited. I'm going to put a free ticket in the chat for anyone that wants to come. There's also VIP as well, but it's part of my speaking tour, and I'm doing motivational speaking, cancer speaking, lots of different talks to different audiences, and then the book tour is coming. So at shiningbrightly.com, you can't order it yet, but hopefully, I think just after July 4th, that week, Shining Brightly will be on Amazon for pre-order. And it's going to come out, and the book is my memoir of my life, from my family starting, from a little hut on a mud floor in Lithuania, all the way to some lessons during cancer. I've IPO'd companies. I've been a Jewish big brother. It's a really cool story of my life, but I give homework at the end of every chapter, and very interactive as well. So I'm excited about that, because I never got to thought about walking back my life. And I didn't write a single word. I think I've told Karen this once. I dictated it because I'm not a great writer. I'm a good speaker, and I dictated it, and those Zoom transcripts became chapters. And I'm so happy that I get to share this legacy with the world. And so that'll be in the chat for those that want to take a look or contact me. Thank you. Thank you.
I've seen a little bit of it, and it's amazing. And that word, I know, Lauren, I was saying, like, I got to think of another word other than amazing, but it really is. That's the whole point of tonight. I want, even if it's one person out there, if you're watching, there's hope. Stick with it. Get the support you need, even if it's one person. Try and, if you can, just take a deep breath. Try to surrender. Your body is not going to be the same. Your mind is not going to be the same. It's like you said with COVID, it's all new. It's all different. And it's kind of surrendering, right? And then learning and seeing what you gain from it. I know, hold on, Renata said, and I liked this. Where was it? There are many gifts in all these tremendously arduous experiences. That's right. I would like to end tonight. First of all, thank you to my guests. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing your stories and inspirational. I started the show with reading a little excerpt I wrote when I found out I had cancer. So then 2 years later, so remember, it's been 11 years now, but 2 years later, I wrote this. It has now been almost 2 years since the day that I stepped in dog poop and got the crazy health news. I've been going to the hospital every 3 months for blood work and twice now each year for scans. So far, all has been clear. I had one scare when I found a bump behind my ear, but it was fine. I often feel around my lymph nodes for strange bumps, and I monitor how I'm feeling constantly. I get a flu shot each year and try to stay away from sick people as my immunity is low. When I get a cold, I hold on to it for longer than I used to. And this is frustrating. I work out often as I did before, but I include yoga, meditation, and continue to journal. This is key. I've gotten rid of so many negative people in my life and distance myself away from negative situations. Stress is dealt with right away, either by quieting my mind and breath or dealing directly with situations. I'm not the quiet, shy Karen that I used to be. I stand up for myself more and for my family. I am fulfilling my bucket list, including taking classes and time for myself every day. I continue to have family dinners, but do not care as much about the meal as my kids will say. I'm not cooking that much, but more about the people at the meal. We talk about our highs and lows as a family, and I look forward to hearing what my family shares with me. I've been on such a journey that continues each day. It is amazing how life has such lessons and how you can learn things from even bad things happening to you. I'm still a mother, a wife, a teacher, and now a podcaster. Perhaps it's the cancer that's motivating me, or just myself, but I am putting myself out there. Writing about my experiences is therapeutic, and it is my hope to help others deal with their own step in dog poop. I am finding my home. I am not quite there yet. It is hard to shift and change, but I am on my way there. So I hope that if you joined us tonight to listen to our speakers and learn that you've become inspired, that if you have any questions at all, you have 3 people here that have gone through multiple cancers. We've had BRCA, breast cancer, as well as you said lymphoma, as
Colon cancer. So, I mean, I want to ask you guys, though, this just came up in the news today. I was watching. Did you see the new, there might be, I was watching the news and there's like a new medication or serum or whatever that might help with certain cancers. And I was like, oh my God. And I was watching it. Like, did you guys hear that? So what do you think of that? Does that like give you hope or false hope? You wanna go
Howard.
first. So
Yeah.
I just came from a cancer conference. They just had an ASCO, and then they had the American Association of Cancer Research. Listen, things are happening much faster. Listen, they got a COVID vaccine out like in record time, and it did help. So there are great things, but the recent announcement, if we're talking about the same thing,
Yes, yes.
they only had about 18 people, and it was for
Yes.
a certain specific colorectal cancer. You had to be a mutation of microsatellite instable high, and they
Yeah.
only had 18, but they were 18 for 18. It's never been done before. So there's hope. They're still practicing medicine.
It's a good first step. It's a
It
good,
is amazing news, and we'll take anything we can get
Yes.
because I have some statistics. There's right now 16 million cancer survivors. That'll grow to close to 23 million in 2030, but there's still over 700,000 cancer deaths a year. So we've got a lot of work to do. Karen, I just want to tell you, you read at the beginning, at the end. You have the beginning of your book and the end of your book. You just got to fill in the middle.
We're going to talk. No, I have the middle. I just didn't read it tonight. I'm going to share it with you, Howard, because you're an author and you've written a book. I wrote this like 11 years ago. I'm going to share it with you. Yeah. And Natalie, what do you think? Did you hear about this at all today?
No, I've been under a rock today working. So,
You know what? There's always like when people give donations to different events, to different cancer organizations, it's so helpful to continue with this research, because even though we're going through so many other diseases and such, cancer is always there, and definitely to find a cure, I mean, would be absolutely incredible. So now I've lit all my candles.
Yes.
And
So
I
I got to put on my shining brightly sunglasses because I can't see.
So I hope that you light your candles out there, and it just will get more brighter and brighter, shining brightly. I love the title of your book and those glasses. You can order those glasses, right?
You will be able to once the merch
I
store
want
is
a
open.
pair of those glasses.
You will.
Okay.
We'll work that out.
I'll
But
make a
shining
wish.
brightly makes the world a better place. That's the whole point.
Yay. Thank you to my guests, Natalie and Howard, and everyone for coming. Let's everyone make a wish, blow out your candles, and enjoy every single day, okay? Because that's what life's about. Ready?
thank you.
Yay!
Hey.
Thank you for joining us on Grateful Goddesses. See you next week.
Thank you.